I am so excited to be doing your makeup again, Rox.
I'm so excited for you to do my face.
It's been so long. I'm going to show you a really kind of bronze, gorgeous, sculpted, beautiful look on Roxy today. I've cleansed and moisturised her skin using the Doctor. Now I'm just applying a Dior primer. This is the Backstage primer, which is kind of like the matching one to go with the foundation that I always love to use. I'm using this one on Roxy because it's kind of that texture that's good if you've got dry areas or oily. Hauschka Rose Day Cream, and that is a train going past, which is what's making that background noise. And actually a really versatile shade anyway. I'm popping that all over the skin with a foundation brush, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mix a little bit of that foundation with something more glowy for kind of the outer parts of the face, because I want to have kind of a... Now I am using the Dior Face and Body Foundation. Because this foundation is buildable and quite sheer, I'm going to do a couple of layers. So I'm starting off just with like a really thin layer. This is shade 2W, which is a perfect match for Roxy's skin tone. And it's really skin perfecting, so it just helps to kind of blur out imperfections and pores, and also holds makeup really well too. And it's really skin perfecting, so it just helps to kind of blur out imperfections and pores, and also holds makeup really well too. So that it gives us a little bit of coverage and glow at the same time. So it's a really nice way of kind of making your favourite foundation a more glowy texture actually when you add this little bit of glow to it. So that's one coat of the foundation, and now what I'm going to do is I've just popped a little pump of this, which is Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfector in the shade Opal, in the palm of my hand, and I'm just going to pop that kind of on the outer part of the face, so reflective, glowy cheekbones and base in general. So now that the foundation's on, I'm going to pop a little bit of concealer. I'm using the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer, just with like a little fluffy brush. This beautiful one, it's from Tom Ford, and I'm just kind of buffing that under the eyes, not too close to the lash line, because when you take your concealer too close to the lash line, that's when you find it can really move around and crease, but just sort of around the eyes to like really brighten that area. Also use this on any little blemishes that you want to conceal. I'm going to give that skin a chance to settle now and move straight onto eyes. I'm using a NARS shadow primer in the shade Medium, which is this kind of lovely peachy tone on Roxy. Quite nice to wear on their own as eyeshadows when you go slightly darker. I'm also going to take that primer under Roxy's eyes. It just really helps to stop things creasing. So I'm going to pop a pencil under the eyes too, and this is just going to help hold that pencil. Also gives us this nice kind of warm shadowing under the eyes. In the tinted shades, these. So I'm just kind of putting this all over to give us a base. Now I'm just going to pop a pencil over that. This is the MAC kohl pencil in the shade Costa Riche, which is this beautiful, warm, orangey brown. Anything kind of warm and orangey is beautiful on blue eyes, just really makes them pop. And that's what I want to do with Roxy's eyes today, just make them really stand out. So I'm kind of sketching in the outer corner of the eye, and then once that kind of base shape is there, I'm going to take the brush that I applied that primer with, just to go back over. So that is the pencil blended, and I'm using now this little Fenty, it's number 230 brush to blend, and kind of just dragging that darkness just in the inner part of the eye here. So it's quite subtle. It just adds a little bit of smokiness in this inner corner too. And I'm also going to pop some of that pencil underneath the eye, mostly just in the outer corner here, which is where I want most of the intensity from that pencil, and then blend. So now I've blended that all around the eyes, I'm going to add a little pop of kind of this rose gold shimmer. This is a Marc Jacobs liquid shadow. It's called Sequins, and the shade is Gleam Girl. So I'm literally going to kind of press that in the center of the lid and smudge and really diffuse that line, and blend it with that darkness underneath, and that's just going to give us this kind of pop of sparkle but keep the warmth of this shade going too. So in the inner part of the eye, like you would with a liner, but obviously using a shadow is going to give you a softer, more diffused line and just really help to kind of define the eyes in this inner part here. This is a nice trick. Also taking that dark shadow in the outer part of the eye, which is going to help to lift the shape of the eye. And then even though I'm applying it with quite a thin brush, I still want it to be really kind of blended and diffused. So but a little bit thicker, just to kind of give this little bit of shadowing that's going to lift the shape of the eye. I'm going to go back over the top with our eyeshadow brush and just really kind of blend this out. I'm just taking a soft brown shadow on a little kind of fluffy brush just for the socket now. This one's quite a precise one from NIKKI. And I just want to kind of sculpt this shape and make it a little... So you can kind of see this just gives a little bit of definition in the socket here and a bit of sculpting. So I've just taken it all around the upper part, and I'm also going to bring some underneath the lid. When I'm doing this kind of soft, a bit darker in Roxy's socket here, I've used brown smoky eye. I quite like the shadow to come quite low under the lid because I think it really helps to balance the shape. Just going to line inside the eye now. I'm using a Chantecaille Kohl in the shade Nude. Much prefer using a nude pencil in the waterline as opposed to white because it just looks more natural, but still helps to really kind of make eyes look big and bright. Now I just want to do a little bit of a liquid liner. This is a gel liner from Inglot Cosmetics. Super black, this one stays really well, keeping it really thin along the lash line, more just to define the lashes rather than to create kind of a winged shape. And then we're going to do lashes and mascara. I'm just going to pop some lashes on now. I want the lashes to be really long and fluttery and beautiful with this look. So I'm using my No Lash individuals and starting with the longest length from the outer corner of the eye. I'm just going to work my way to the inner part of the eye where I'm going to go to medium length. And I use duo adhesive with these, which I just find holds really well, and because it's actually originally a surgical glue, it's really safe for the eye area. And even though it holds, it's also easy to remove, which I think is really important, so it doesn't actually damage your own lashes. Just going to pop some mascara on those lashes now. I always like to do my mascara after I've applied the lashes. If you do it when the glue's dry, it doesn't take them off. It just really helps to blend the natural lashes with the false ones. So you get kind of like a thicker effect at the root of the lashes, and then still these kind of spiky, pointy tips of the lashes, and they just look more natural. And I think they stay on better. The only downside to this though, and I do get this question a lot, is it does make them a little bit harder to reuse. Through Roxy's gorgeous brows. You do have such amazing brows.
Thank you.
And then actually just going back over the top of those with a finger, and what this does is it helps to remove any residue that... So look how much of a difference those lashes make. So gorgeous. I've put mascara on top of them, and now I'm moving straight onto brows. Just put some fixing spray into my soap brows tin, which I've put on a spoolie, and I'm just combing that now maybe around the brow, and also helps them to lay flat onto the skin. These brows are bushy and gorgeous already, but I'm just using a little bit of Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in the shade Taupe, which is a slightly cooler shade than Roxy's natural brows, but I want to make them look a little bit less warm. So I'm just kind of filling in any little gaps just to keep them looking really full and fluffy. So now I'm going to move on to finishing the skin, and I'm using a cream contour palette by Kat Von D now, and this little brush which is by Japonesque. I'm just going to put a little bit of light contouring just down the sides of the nose there, but I want this to almost look like it joins to the little bit of shading on the eyes, which keeps it really natural. We're going to do the same on the other side, and then once the shape's on, that's when I kind of blend and soften, because there's nothing worse than being able to see nose contour. You want it to be really subtle. That's where you get the most intensity of colour, and then just bringing that in just to create this kind of quite sharp but clean cheekbone. And then once the shape is on, that's when I can kind of blend and soften so that it still looks natural. Now I'm going to put some of that contouring under cheekbones, just using a flat synthetic brush. That's why I'm using a foundation brush, just because it helps to kind of put that shape on in a clean way. Starting at the ear, but I want to really give this kind of lifted shape to the face. And I think the higher a cheekbone is, the more feminine the shape of the face looks. So actually, also a really good tip when you're doing any kind of drag makeup, that actually if you really create that kind of lift. And before I blend that, I'm also going to talk about jaw contour. I see a lot of people kind of go over the top of their jaw like that, and I think unless you actually want to make your whole jaw smaller, that's really not necessary to do. So I'm just going slightly under and just a little bit higher in this part, which is going to create kind of more of a sharp, angled shape to Roxy's beautiful jaw already. But you can kind of see there's just a little bit of darkness here, but I'm not going over the chin or high cheekbone, and you create more of a feminine shape. And then, like everything I do, blend afterwards. A little tip when blending any kind of contour is I always try and blend upwards rather than blending downwards, where you kind of pull that shape down. So just blending a lot of that part of the jaw. So really just creating those angles that I want. And I'm also going to put some contouring here. This is totally dependent on the face shape that you're working on. But I just want to put that little bit of kind of shadowing just at the sides here, so that it continues along those lines and then upwards, so that you keep that nice shape that you put in to start with. Kind of our like soft smoky eye, but also creates this dimension that goes in and out on the side of the face. Now time for a little powder. I'm using the Rodial Banana powder, and I'm going to pop that under the eyes and this little part here where I don't want so much shine. Also going to set under the cheekbones. I want to really intensify that contour now, so I'm just going over the top of it with a little bronzing powder. And the tip to do this so that it doesn't turn out patchy is just to be super light-handed with your touch. So I'm really not dragging the skin at all, but just and because it's got that little tint of colour, this banana powder, it's going to help to further define that shape under the cheekbones. Also a little bit in the centre of the forehead here. So I'm popping a little bit of blush on now. This is a Kat Von D blush in the shade Foxglove. I'm kind of a bit obsessed with this shade at the moment. It's just this really kind of neutral rosy pink, I'd call it, but it suits so many different skin tones. So to highlight, I am using a Danessa Myricks Illuminating Veil Highlighter in the shade Luna, which I'm just going to press onto the cheekbones. Kind of mostly want to use fingers for this because we've got powder on beforehand. See what an amazing glow this gives to the skin. And because it's a liquid product, even though it's a really kind of long-wearing, stay-on liquid product, when it first goes on, if you use fingers, it stops it kind of moving that product underneath and then going patchy. But if you turn your head to the side, you get the same product now, just with a little pencil brush, just to be more precise. I'm just popping a little bit in the inner corner of the eye. Also down the bridge of the nose, but mostly kind of concentrating on that part there, and then a little bit on the tip of the nose too. So now onto lips. Roxy's already got a little bit of gloss on her lips. It's a Rodial, it's called Collagen Boost Lip Lacquer in the shade Stripped, and I thought it was such a nice shade that we kept it on throughout the tutorial. But I just want to define the shape a little bit more now. So I'm going around the edge with a MAC lip liner in the shade Stripped Down, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of that gloss in the centre. So this is the gloss, and because it's Roxy's own, I'm using it straight from the applicator directly on her lips. It's such a gorgeous shade, this. And I'm just blending it with a slightly warmer shade of the liner. But it's quite a nice texture in that it's glossy without being too kind of sticky. So makeup is pretty much done, but because I've kind of got lots of sculpting on the face, I just want to make sure body matches really well. So I'm using the all even Colour Shield Glow in the shade Ivory, which I'm just spraying directly on Roxy's shoulders. Sexy tousled waves go so well with this look. So here is the finished look complete. I hope you all love it. Roxy, you look phenomenal.
Thank you.